During this episode, Bjarne Bergheim, President and CEO of Sonendo, a commercial-stage medical technology company committed to solving tooth decay, the most prevalent chronic disease globally, joins us to discuss his deeply rooted commitment and passion for his company's mission to save teeth and improve lives. While together, Bjarne shares his entrepreneurial journey, why and how he became Sonendo's first employee in 2007, and the bright vision for Sonendo's future. Join us as Bjarne and I discuss the importance of oral care as we continue to work together to move the health of our world forward. Let's go. Welcome to Passionate Pioneers with Mike Biselli, where we highlight and speak with the innovators, the game changers, and the pioneers who are deeply passionate and relentless in solving the problems our world is facing today. This is your opportunity to connect with and learn from these leaders and to support them on their mission. Perhaps they will soon be hearing your story as well. This is Passionate Pioneers with Mike Biselli. I look forward to having you on this journey with us. Hi, Bjarne. A big welcome to our podcast.
Hi, Mike. It's great to be with you.
Well, given your decades of amazing experience in the medical technology industry and the passion you have to advance your company's mission to save teeth and improve lives, I'm excited for this important conversation today. But before we dive in, a bit of housekeeping. While listening to any of our episodes, please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast so you will automatically receive episode updates in your podcast player. Simply search Passionate Pioneers with Mike Biselli in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And lastly, please visit the bottom of the episode notes to connect with me on LinkedIn and Twitter in order to further the conversations occurring on this podcast. All right, Bjarne, it's almost time for our community to learn how you and the Sonendo team are improving quality of life by saving teeth and stopping the progression of tooth decay. But first, what's that one piece of advice that you would give to others who are passionate about reimagining the health of our world?
I would say dare to build your company around your vision. First, you need to make sure that you have the right vision for the company, and then you make sure that others believe your mission. Then it's all about execution. Surround yourself with smart people who can make that vision a reality.
Well, I appreciate you started there, Bjarne, because you got to have a vision if you want to move healthcare forward. This is a tough industry. You know it. I know it. It's tough to move these big rocks uphill sometimes. So you need to have a big, bold vision. It's important, especially as we, try to continue to move healthcare forward. But with that, Bjarne, that's a big term, vision, big vision, bold vision. Do you have a specific example that you share with the Sonendo team? Like, we were a little bit, that's a 100,000 foot view. I appreciate it. But are there any specific kind of on the ground examples that you have around that?
Maybe an example that a lot of people will recognize is John F. Kennedy's speech at Rice University when he said, "We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they're easy, but because they're hard." JFK did not know anything about rockets or how to go to the moon, but he set the vision, and then he surrounded himself with great people, and he made that a reality.
It's a great example. I absolutely love it. I actually share that exact quote a number of times when I'm giving some of my talks. He literally rallied this entire nation around that big, bold vision. I mean, one of my favorite stories of what we've achieved as a country here. So thank you for sharing that, Bjarne. And I know we're going to have a lot to talk about in regards to that big, bold vision that you have set forward with the Sonendo team and all the wonderful work you and the team have been up to for a number of years now. We're going to be unpacking all of that and more after we get back from thanking our community champion sponsor. Located in Denver, Colorado's nationally ranked River North District, Catalyst is a healthcare innovation campus that brings together stakeholders from across the industry to accelerate innovation and drive real, lasting change our nation desperately needs. From established organizations to startups, from accelerators to advocacy organizations, and from medical schools to global companies, everyone at Catalyst works side by side to create, develop, refine, and bring to market cutting-edge innovations that will fundamentally transform healthcare as we know it. With industry leaders like Medical Group Management Association, Olive, Medical Solutions, UC Health, Cirrus MD, and many others calling Catalyst home, along with innovative pioneers visiting from across the nation, Catalyst continually fosters their foundational belief that collaboration and partnerships will move the healthcare industry forward. To virtually tour Catalyst and claim your space on campus or host an upcoming event, visit catalysthealthtech.com or visit the top of the episode notes and click on their link. All right, we are back with Bjarne Bergheim, President and CEO of Sonendo. Bjorg, thank you so much for setting the stage on the front end. You are 100% spot on. We got to have big, bold vision to move this industry forward. health, and care mean a lot in many different ways. One of them we're going to talk about today is oral care. It is a very important issue. I think something that is gaining even more notoriety around the importance of holistic health also starts with oral health. And I can't wait to talk about your mission at Sonendo and what you guys are doing in the marketplace. Of course, where you're heading as well as we continue to move this industry forward with that big, bold vision that you've set forward with your team at Sonendo. But of course, Bjarne, take us back a bit. Obviously, you haven't been working at Sonendo your entire professional adult life, and you worked up to it. Give us a little backdrop of how it came to be in the first place. What were you doing before Sonendo, and how did that tee you up to start working and leading Sonendo? And then again, like I said, we'll talk current state, a little bit of where things are heading, how we can help you. But for now, give us a little bit of that journey of where you came to be to today.
Yeah, Mike, one of the things I was doing before Sonendo was I worked at Fjord Ventures. I was fortunate to be part of the founding team that started Fjord. I'm also very fortunate to grow up in a family of entrepreneurs. My father started Fjord Ventures, which is our family office that has started a number of different transformational companies within the life sciences. I think one of the things I've learned from my time at Fjord was that the best companies start with a vision without necessarily having a mousetrap. Build a company based upon a vision is very different than just having a mousetrap trying to look for a solution. And also, like we talked about in the introduction, vision is something that everyone can rally around. So that's something that I've learned is very, very important for us. Another thing that I learned is that it's important, I believe, that especially in the area of healthcare, it's important to us that we want to transform a space. We're not so excited about incremental development, but we're excited about transformational development. And specifically, for example, and we're going to talk about Sonendo here in a second, instead of scraping out the inside of a tooth with a file, it's much more excited to completely transform that and clean that out with broad spectrum sound. So transformational innovation effectively gives us an opportunity to impact health in a big way. So that was the Fjord Ventures side of my background. Then maybe turning to Sonendo, you may ask the question, well, why did we get interested in dentistry to begin with? You know, when you look across the life sciences, right, there's a lot of exciting innovation in cardiovascular, diabetes, ophthalmology, and so forth. How often do you hear about something exciting and new in dentistry? That isn't that often. So what we did is we stepped back and looked at the dental universe. What is really happening in dentistry? We can kind of summarize dentistry in really three categories. It's about moving teeth, replacing teeth, and saving teeth. And what we mean by that is that moving teeth, that's the braces of the world, right? And Align Technology is a name we recognize for having really transformed the braces side of this. And everyone knows Invisalign. Replacing teeth, that's when we weren't able to save the teeth. We have a cavity, we have a root canal, we need to extract the tooth and we need to put in an implant. And you have notable companies like the Nobels and the Stromans of the world that are making implants. But I would argue that the most important and exciting area of dentistry is what we term saving teeth. And effectively what we reference or what we mean when we talk about saving teeth is the element of tooth decay that you're talking about. That's when you have an infection inside or outside the tooth. In other words, a cavity or a root canal infection. And it turns out that tooth decay is the number one most prevalent chronic disease in the world. And because of the prevalence of tooth decay, we figured that if someone could completely revolutionize a way to treat root canals and cavities, that would be an enormous opportunity. You know, if you look in the United States and Canada, there's roughly about 17 million root canals. There's roughly about 170 million plus cavities. And that really helped really form our mission, if you will, for Sonendo. We want to save teeth, we want to improve lives, and ultimately we want to change dentistry in a big way.
So it's a good way to set it up. And talking about the problem at hand, I think also that's another big part. You talk about vision at the beginning. I'm also a big fan of what is the problem in the marketplace that needs to be solved, right? You just teed it up absolutely perfectly. What is the opportunity? And you just mentioned it in regards to the vision and the mission at Sonendo. So in 2007, you became the first employee at Sonendo. Take us back there. What were those early days like? What was it like being the first employee and then, work into today and where you guys are with the mission and vision?
Yeah, Mike, it was an exciting time. Being the first employee, but also being the first member of that first team, right, that tried to do this. Initially when we started, this was all about trying to figure out a way to clean root canals. And quite honestly, And this gets us back to this element of vision versus, vision, right? We had the vision of cleaning root canals, but quite honestly, we didn't really know how we were going to clean root canals. We knew that the current way of cleaning root canals, the traditional way of doing root canals, was trying to scrape out the interior of the teeth with files. But the problem, though, is that the typical file, right, will only touch half the interior surface of a tooth. So there's a lot of rotted tissue and bacteria left. And so there's a lot of complexities and complex structures with these teeth. So we need to figure out a way to get all of this out. So we needed to find a completely new way of cleaning these teeth without removing tooth structure. So you talk sometimes about aha moments. We had 2 aha moments at Sonendo. The first aha moment was that we discovered that if we created this cavitation, or rather broad spectrum sound, we could actually use that to dissolve the tissues and actually dissolve the interior elements, if you will, and clean out the interior of the tooth. That was aha moment number 1. Aha moment number 2 was that we needed to remove the gas in these fluids. And that may not sound very exciting, but if you think about a bottle of water is, when you look at it, it just looks like water. But if you were to look at that water under a microscope, you're going to see millions of air bubbles. And it turns out that those air bubbles that are dissolved in water are larger than the pores that we have inside teeth. So if we're going to go into these exceptionally small spaces in the pores within teeth and really solve the problem of root canal procedures or solve the problem of tooth decay, we need to remove the gas, right? That was aha moment number 2. So we figured out a way to create broad spectrum sound and degas these fluids. Obviously, we put a lot of IP around this, and we created a completely new way of cleaning and disinfecting teeth.
Wow, I just learned a lot about gas in a tooth. I had no idea. That is fascinating, Bjarne. Thank you for that. So then, of course, you start working up to current state, and today, in October of 21, you took the company public. That's an amazing accomplishment for any business leader out there. So bravo on that. But, of course, so that sets us up for today. What is Sonendo focused and working on today? Or if you like, I know you're an entrepreneur at heart. What is Sonendo? What's that elevator pitch? If I was in the elevator with you to go a few flights down, what would be that snippet? What would be that elevator pitch that you would give to me in the audience?
Obviously, it's all about saving teeth, improving lives, right? We have a completely new way of cleaning and disinfecting teeth and ultimately solving tooth decay that has not just applications within root canal therapy, but also applications within cavities as we continue to move forward. But if you look at current state, maybe we should talk about 3 different categories. What's the current state on the clinical side, on the team side, and also maybe the business? Some of the effectively building blocks, if you will, of the company. So where we're sitting today is that we've done more than 900,000 procedures on the root canal side with exceptional results. We've really taken root canal therapy to a new level. We see significantly less failure rates. In traditional therapy, the failure rate is around 15 to 32%, depending on the source that you're looking at. We've been able to reduce that failure rate to less than 3%. Second, we've also been able to create a less painful procedure. 30 to 70% of patients in traditional root canal procedures have pain in the days and weeks following a root canal procedure. We've reduced that to almost nothing. We've also made this a faster procedure because, instead of doing multiple visit procedures, now you can do this in one visit, and you can also have a much faster procedure. I think one of the things that we're realizing, right, as we're going after this market is that patients are really afraid of traditional root canal procedures. And maybe I should just summarize some quick statistics to kind of maybe highlight that. We've done a survey of patients, and what we see is that 67% of patients are terrified of getting a root canal procedure. 77% of Americans would rather sleep at the airport than have a root canal procedure.
Yeah, and to our audience, I just visually raised my hand to Bjarne. I was like, I'm in that camp. I've had one a number of years ago. I am in that statistical camp. I get it. It was horrible.
And I'm there myself as well. So 58% of respondents say that pain level after root canal procedures is ultimately what scares them. 54% would rather have a colonoscopy procedure than, a root canal procedure. So traditional root canal procedures is definitely what people want. It's really exciting for us to have been able to talk to some of these patients afterwards. What people are effectively telling us it's night and day compared to a traditional root canal procedure. We very, very commonly hear, and typically what we hear is that our patients don't have any pain during the procedures and don't have any pain after the procedure. And when we've actually done some studies with the consumers, we see that 99% of patients who know about the GentleWave procedure will prefer to have the GentleWave procedure. So that takes the clinical, side to a completely new level. So maybe the second element of this is the fact that we've built an incredible team. Like we talked a little bit about in the beginning, right? We have a vision. Now we need to surround yourself with a great team that can execute that vision. So now we have a team of about approximately 250 employees, an incredible team that is driving this forward. And if it hadn't been for that team, nothing of this would have been possible. That may be the third thing, right? Is that what business have we ultimately built here? You alluded to the fact that, yes, we're a public company, but if we stand back and look at the core elements of the business that we have created. Point one, we have a paradigm shifting platform technology for tooth decay, right? That allows us to go after both root canals and cavities. We have a large market opportunity here. The market opportunity for root canal therapy in the United States and Canada for Sonendo is roughly about $1.9 billion, and that is just for the root canal opportunity. We have a compelling and growing body of clinical and real-world evidence right here. We've done, like I mentioned, 900,000 patients, but we also have clinicals that we've done that support, these claims that we're making now. We also have an attractive value proposition for the doctor, which I think is a very important part of this. Yeah, we've talked about the patient side, but in order to drive the business here, we need to really make sure that this works well for the doctor. And when we talk about the value prop for doctors, I always talk about the 4 E's: efficacy, efficiency, economy, and ease of use. Efficacy, that's the outcome side of it. The efficiency side is the ability for the doctor to do these procedures more quickly, such that they can do more procedures, and actually drive more revenue into their practice. The economy is ultimately about driving more revenue, but also attracting more patients. And that is enabled by the fact that more patients would like to have the GentleWave procedure. And then there's an ease of use part of this. Root canals in a traditional setting are very complex to do, and we've made them simple. And that's a key element of this. Then we also have a transformational R&D team. We were an innovation company. We've built a lot of IP around this, and we're going to continue to innovate this such that we can really change dentistry like we talked about. And then at the end of the day here, we have a great business. We have a recurring revenue business model where we sell a console, and then we have a consumable revenue stream. So for every procedure that's being done, we sell a procedure instrument. So we've created an exciting business. We are a fast growth company, and really excited about the future of Sonendo.
Well, that's exciting. And in regards to what you have built for today, Bjarne, I love it. And also, as we start thinking about on the macro where we are going as an industry, and we start thinking about, and at some point, it's kind of the norm, this notion of value-based care, making sure that everybody, one, has skin in the game, that our patients are, a part of the journey of the care plan. But of course, the outcomes, right? We need to make sure that our patients are happy with the outcomes. And you just talked about those 4 E's, really helping hone in on where we're heading with value-based care as well. I absolutely love it. Great synopsis there, Bjarne. Of course, you mentioned again, big, bold vision. You guys are executing against it today, but there is vision for tomorrow as well. And really want to ask you a couple things, pull the crystal ball off the shelf for a moment. Bjarne, this is an exciting space. I've been able to, spend time with leaders that are in oral care, and I've been fascinating on my education journey within this space of how much oral care impacts every other, part of overall health and care of a person, right? We're talking cardiovascular disease, comorbidities of all of that and the like. So with that, Bjarne, as you mentioned, people don't look at dentistry or oral care as exciting or sexy or anything like that. But I also think it is something that we are going to continue to talk more and more about because the evidence is showing us that good oral care is going to lead to good overall health and care as well and well-being. So with that, Bjarne, big vision already set today. You're executing it against it today brilliantly. Where are things heading for tomorrow? Not just for Sonendo, but also within this space of dentistry, within this space of oral care. Where are things heading that we should be mindful of as leaders in this industry? And of course, where is Sonendo going to be there to answer the call for that tomorrow as well?
Yeah, so when you look at our initial vision was to clean and disinfect the root canal. But like you're alluding to, today our vision is much bolder than that. What we're starting to realize that it's not just about cleaning the root canal, but it's about the overall health of the patient, right? So oral care, we believe, impacts overall health. That's why we, in our mission statement, is about saving teeth, improving lives. That's why we added the improving lives part of it. I think as we go forward, that is just resonating with patients. But as we continue to go forward now, we're also making our vision is becoming bolder. Now it's about tooth decay. It's not just about cleaning root canals, but over time, it's also going to be about going after tooth decay and also going after the cavity side of it, and also really changing dentistry in a big way. If you go back in time, if you go back a couple of years, a lot of people have talked about the importance of the gut biome and how important the gut biome is to overall health. I think when we sit here in 5 or 10 years, we're going to look back and say that this is when dentistry started to change in a big way. And this is when people, to your point, started to realize how critical the oral environment is to overall health. So I couldn't agree more with your statement, Mike.
Well, and it's true. The more and more I spend time with leaders like you on this podcast, you're starting to hear these themes play over and over again about this notion of, let's really take a notice of oral care and what that means for overall health and well-being. It's something that I'm hearing more and more of, and which is exciting. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there moving forward. So Bjarne, where do you also see then with that, are there any new things heading out in the marketplace around tooth decay? Is that something, maybe are there new products or technologies? Where do you see things maybe over the next 18 to 24 months?
It's interesting, Mike, as obviously we're paying really close attention to what's happening in the dental market right now. And what we continue to see are more of the traditional technologies around new ways of scraping or using the traditional technologies that have been around for decades. We don't see anything on the horizon that is doing and going in the direction of what we're doing. And that's kind of interesting in and of itself. Typically when there's a large opportunity like this, you would have a lot of companies really competing to get into the space. At this point in time, we're really the only ones that are pioneering and kind of moving in this direction of cleaning and disinfecting teeth in this new way.
And this is exactly why we have you on the podcast today, Bjarne, because we are not subscribers of status quo. And you know as well as I do, one of the biggest killers in healthcare, one of the biggest things holding us back as an industry is status quo. This is how it's always been done, so we can't change it, right? We have to divorce ourselves from status quo and being married to orthodoxy. So exactly why we have you on the podcast, Bjarne. But of course, a lot of people tuning in are of that mindset as well, that we must change, we must do better, we must try new ways and create new products and technologies to innovate this space. So with that, Bjarne, with the community rally around this podcast, they love helping out our guests. What's one problem, need, or question that you have for our community to help you with?
That's a great question. And maybe I'll answer it in a more generic way first, and I'll answer it specifically for Sonendo. I think my generic response is this. When you're disrupting a market, and exactly like you were alluding to, people will initially not believe you. And it's important to believe. And, the people around you, I think it's important to, for all entrepreneurs, it's important to help by believing and supporting those entrepreneurs that are going after these new and crazy projects, right? Now, specifically for Sonendo, I have to admit that some of these larger the players in dentistry are creating a narrative that traditional root canal procedures are okay. And I think listeners can help by really not accepting the standard of care in root canal therapy and not accept that this is okay. And is it okay that when you've paid $1,000 or $1,500 for a root canal procedure that you have 20, 30% or 40% of rotted tissue and bacteria left in your tooth after that procedure? Is it okay that 30 to 70% of patients have pain in the days and weeks after a conventional root canal procedure? Is it okay that 15 to 32% of these procedures fail? And it's interesting that there are some big players in dentistry that are saying that these root canal procedures are okay. But it's also very interesting that these big players, and many of them, not all of them, but many of them, are also selling implants, right? It turns out that 40% of implants are a direct result of failed root canal procedures. So they don't necessarily have the incentive to really change the space in a big way. So I think at this point in time, we're living in the 21st century here. It's time to give people a better way of doing root canal procedures. And ultimately, that's why we subscribe to this mission of saving teeth, improving lives.
I love it. I love it. And you know what? Let the data follow you on that journey, right? And of course, there are big fiefdoms that people have built over many years and are protecting it feverishly, right? You just mentioned it. It's a lot of established players. They don't want to let go of the fiefdom they built. But, you know, we have to have innovators and people that are thinking differently to bring better health and care to the people around our country, around the world, and doing it in an innovative way, just like you have described in this episode. But of course, Bjarne, in order for our community to have this conversation, extend this narrative with you, how can they get a hold of you? Contact points online, website, social media handles, or otherwise?
Yep, absolutely. So our company website is sonendo.com. And as a patient, you can find more information about the procedure on gentlewave.com. You can find information about Sonendo under LinkedIn. Search for Sonendo. My personal LinkedIn page is Bjarne Bergheim. And we're also on Instagram, and the handle is @GentleWaveDoctor.
Easy enough. And we'll list all of those in the episode notes. So simply scroll down in your favorite podcast player to click on through to get a hold of Bjarne and the team. You can also head over to our free global online community at passionatepioneers.com. There will be a post for Bjarne's episode where you can also leave comments, feedback, suggestions, or otherwise, and get a hold of all those contact points that Bjarne just listed again over at passionatepioneers.com. Well, Bjarne, this has been a heck of an education lesson for me as well. This is an amazing topic. I'm very, very passionate about oral care and what it means for the overall health and well-being for all of us. This has been an exciting conversation, and I appreciate the time, but almost done. We have one more piece for you. It's a fill in the blank. I'm a passionate pioneer because
I want to save teeth and improve life. That's our mission. In essence, we want to solve tooth decay, the most prevalent chronic disease in the world.
I love it. I love it. Bjarne, again, thank you for taking a pit stop and being on our podcast and sharing everything happening, not only today within the Sonendo camp, but where are things heading for tomorrow as well. It was an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. Again, Bjarne, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on Passionate Pioneers with Mike Biselli. We'd love to hear your feedback about the podcast so we can continue to improve this community and to further support the pioneers being featured. Lastly, please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast and invite your friends and colleagues to join us. This is Passionate Pioneers with Mike Biselli. I look forward to having you back with us during our next episode.